Chapter 11, Properties of the Hair and Scalp. The learning objectives for this chapter are: identify and distinguish the different structures of the hair root. Point out and differentiate the differences among the three main layers of the hair shaft. Identify and explain the three types of side bonds in the cortex. Name and compare the differences among the three cycles of hair growth. Give examples of the common types of hair loss and explain what can cause hair loss. Identify and explain at least three options for hair loss treatment. Learn to identify the most common hair and scalp disorders seen in the salon and school, and then name which ones a physician should treat. Compare and describe the different factors that should be considered during a hair and scalp analysis. Hairstylists play an important role in many people's lives. All hair services must be based on a thorough understanding of the growth, structure, and composition of the hair. Let's discover the structure of the hair. Some of the key definitions are trichology. Trichology is the scientific study of the hair, its diseases, and its care. The hair root is the part of the hair located below the surface of the epidermis. The epidermis is the outer layer of the skin. The hair shaft is the portion of the hair that projects above the epidermis. Please take a look at the diagram on the right side of this slide. We're going to look at the structure of the hair root. Notice the hair follicle. The hair follicle is where you will find the distribution and the growth of the hair. The hair bulb is a club-like structure located below the epidermis. The dermal papillae and the erector pillae are also located below the epidermis. The sebaceous glands are where the sebum and/or oil is formed, which lubricates the hair and the skin. The erector pillae muscle is what's responsible for giving you those little things called goosebumps if you get cold. You hear people say, "It made my hair stand on end." The erector pillae is what would be responsible for making your hair stand on end. The structures of the hair shaft. The hair shaft is what we will be treating in the salon. The hair shaft, if you remember, is the portion of the hair strand that projects above the epidermis, or the top layer of the skin. The hair shaft has three main parts: the hair cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. I like to think of the hair shaft as being like a pencil. If you think about it, the inner part of a pencil is the lead. The inner part of a hair shaft is the medulla. So the medulla would be the lead of the pencil. The cortex, which is where you find most of the protein and the structure which makes the hair strong, is the middle section of the hair. The cortex of your pencil would be the wood portion of the pencil. The hair cuticle is the outermost portion of the hair. The hair cuticle kind of lays on the strand of hair like shingles on a roof. They overlap one another. The hair cuticle is mainly to protect the cortex of the hair. So the cuticle on your pencil would be the paint of the pencil. If the paint of the pencil were not there and you're using a wood pencil that is rough, you might get splinters from the cortex portion of the pencil. Now let's take a look at the chemical composition of hair. Hair is approximately 90% protein. Let me say that again. If I say something twice, it's probably pretty important to remember it. Hair is approximately 90% protein. The protein is made up of a long chain of amino acids, which in turn are made up of elements. In other words, there's elements that link together to form a long chain of amino acids. The amino acids form the protein of which the hair is made. The major elements that make up the hair are carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. These are often referred to as the CONS elements, COHNS, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. These 5 elements are also found in the skin and in the nails. One more time, the major elements that make up the hair are carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur, or CONS. What are the percentage of these elements that the hair is comprised of? Carbon, 51%. Oxygen, 21%. Hydrogen, 6%. Nitrogen, 17%. And finally, sulfur, 5%. So CONS, 51, 21, 6, 17, and 5. 51, 21, 6, 17, and 5. Important to remember. Keratinization. Keratinization is the maturing process of living cells that originate within the hair follicle. As these newly formed cells mature, they fill up with a fibrous protein called keratin. Amino acids. So, do you remember the little pop beads that you played with when you were about 18 months old? Probably not. But hopefully you've been around a toddler who's played with these little pop beads. Amino acids kind of link like a pop bead. There's peptide or end bonds. These different amino acids link together to form a polypeptide chain. That's what you're seeing on the right side of the screen. As the chain forms, it kind of creates a spiral type effect. This is called a helix. Now we're going to take an extensive look at the side bonds of the cortex. Hydrogen bonds are a weak physical side bond. They are easily broken and reformed just by brushing the hair. Salt bonds are also a weak physical side bond. These are also equally broken and reformed by changes in the pH of the hair. So for example, a hydrogen bond can be broken and reformed just by doing something simple like brushing the hair. A salt bond, these are broken and reformed by also doing a simple task like shampooing the hair. A disulfide bond is a strong chemical bond. Disulfide bonds are only broken and reformed when you perform a chemical service on the hair, such as a hair color or a permanent wave, possibly a chemical relaxer. A lengthening bond is formed only during the process of chemically relaxing the hair. The disulfide bonds are broken in this process, and when they are reformed through the neutralizing of the service, a lengthening bond is now formed. In examining straight hair and the hydrogen bonds and the salt bonds, you'll see in Figure 1 that in the straight hair, the hydrogen and salt bonds are at a fixed position. In figure 2, as the hair is softened by water, the H bonds are broken. Hair is then wound on rollers. The S bonds are stretched into waved locations. The hair after proper drying, the H bonds have now reformed into a waved position. As you take the rollers out and then you brush the hair, as shown in figure 5, the waves are held only by the H bonds. The hair is sprayed with a moisture repellent barrier. So let me break that down for you one more time with regard to hydrogen and salt bonds. They are both weak physical side bonds of the hair. So your client comes in for just your basic shampoo, roller set, dry, and a comb out. She sits down in your chair. The hydrogen and the salt bonds are just at their normal position. Then you take them back and you shampoo the hair. The H bonds are broken. Then you roll up her hair on the rollers. Your salt bonds have now been positioned into a waved position. Then the hair is dried. The H bonds are reformed into a waved position. Now you're going to brush out her hair and style it into her style. The waves held by the H bonds. The hair is then sprayed with a hairspray, and out the door she goes. Now let's take a look at how the hydrogen and the salt bonds are affected by a chemical service like a permanent wave. Your client comes in, again her hair is straight. You see that both the hydrogen and the salt bonds are in their straight positions. Now her hair is wound on rods and softened by shampooing and also the cold wave solution or the permanent wave solution. The H bonds and nearly all of the salt bonds are now broken. Again, in reviewing the bonds of the hair, this chart will show you the different types of bonds, the strength of the bond, what they are broken by, and what they are reformed by. Take a few minutes to study this chart. Hair pigment. Pigment in the hair color is what gives the hair its actual color, just like you would find in a can of paint or anything else that has color. There are different types of pigment that create the color of the natural hair. Melanin is the term that we use to refer to the tiny grains of pigment. Eumelanin provides dark brown and black color to the hair. Phenylalanine provides the yellow to red ginger color. Natural hair color is a result of the ratio of these two different types of melanin, eumelanin to phenylalanine. Gray hair means that there's an absence of melanin, leaving the hair without color at all. Wave patterns. Different clients will have a different wave pattern to their hair. If straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, and extremely curly hair. The truth about hair growth. There's different types of hair found on the human body. Vellus hair is short, fine, downy, unpigmented hair on the body. A lot of times you'll find this on the face, arms, and legs. Terminal hair is long, thick, pigmented hair that's found on the scalp, legs, arms, and body. Discuss some of the myths and facts about hair growth. These are some myths. Shaving, clipping, or cutting makes the hair grow faster. Scalp massage increases growth. Gray hair is coarser and more resistant. Natural curl is determined by race. Round cross section of a hair that is straight, an oval cross section is wavy, and a flat cross section is curly. Before you can treat a client who is experiencing hair loss, you have to first discover what the causes are and then discuss the treatments. The growth cycle provides for the continuous growth, fall, and replacement of individual hair strands. An average client will shed 35 to 40 hairs per day, and this is completely normal and natural. There is, of course, an emotional impact of hair loss. The perception of bald and balding men is that they are less attractive, less assertive, less successful, less personally likable, and older by at least 5 years. Men also experience negative social and emotional effects from hair loss. They become preoccupied with baldness, and they take efforts to conceal the fact that they are losing their hair. For women, hair loss can be devastating, can cause them anxiety, feelings of helplessness, and unattractiveness. The technical term for abnormal hair loss is alopecia. The 3 most common types of abnormal hair loss or alopecia are androgenic alopecia, alopecia areata, and postpartum alopecia. Androgenic alopecia is a progressive shrinking or miniaturization of the terminal hair. It affects millions of men and women in the United States. Alopecia areata is the sudden loss in regular or irregular patches. It affects 5 million people in the United States. The immune system actually attacks the hair follicles, and that's what causes the hair to begin to fall out. It'll begin with small bald patches. This can occur in males and females of all ages and races. Postpartum alopecia is the temporary hair loss at the conclusion of pregnancy. The growth cycle returns to normal within 1 year of the delivery of a baby. Some of the most common hair loss treatments that are on the market today are Minoxidil and Finasteride. Minoxidil is a topical treatment that is applied to the scalp in the areas of the hair loss. Finasteride is an oral treatment that is taken by mouth that can help generate growth of the hair and prevent the loss. Recognizing disorders of the hair. Canites, congenital canites, or acquired canites. Ringed hair, hypertrichosis, or trichopitalis. These are going to be some of the key vocabulary terms that you will need to learn and remember in order to be successful on the final exam. Some common parasitic infections of the scalp are scabies, which is the itch mite, or pediculosis capitatis, head lice. Neither of these should be treated in the salon, as they are both highly contagious and require a medicated treatment that should be performed or supervised by a physician or at home. Some common bacterial infections of the skin and the scalp: a furuncle, carbuncle, and folliculitis. Before servicing any client, you're going to want to perform a thorough hair and scalp analysis. You want to first determine the texture of the hair. Is the hair coarse, medium, or fine? Hair density. The definition of hair density is the number of hairs per square inch. If hair has a low density, It'll be very thin. Medium density will just be the average number of hairs per square inch. High density is thick, dense hair. On average, someone will have 2,200 hairs per square inch. Porosity is another important factor to consider when you're giving your hair and scalp analysis. Porosity means the hair's ability to absorb moisture. Low porosity hair will have a very tight cuticle and will not be able to absorb water or products very easily. Average porosity means that the cuticle is slightly looser and the hair will be able to accept products more easily. High porosity hair will be hair that has a very, very high level of porosity and be able to absorb color and conditioners much more easily. However, this hair has typically been chemically processed, making the porosity level very high. Hair that is highly porous will absorb products quicker and faster, but very often the results are unstable and unpredictable. Additionally, hair that is highly porous will not be able to retain the products easily. So although it may absorb quickly, it tends to let it go very fast as well. Elasticity is the hair's ability to stretch without breaking. Normal elasticity is hair that you can easily pull and see some stretch without the hair breaking. Low elasticity means that as you pull the hair, it's going to break very easily. You will want to test the hair for elasticity by grasping the strand of hair between two fingers and pulling on it with some degree of tension. If the hair breaks very easily, you will know that it does not have a high level of elasticity. Now I'm discussing some hair growth patterns. A hair stream is hair that all flows in the same direction. A whorl is hair that forms a circular pattern. Many times we will see this in the crown area of a client's growth pattern. A cowlick is a tuft of hair that stands straight up. If you cut an area of a client's hair where you will find a cowlick too short, you're going to find it to be quite unmanageable. Another hair condition that is quite common among our clients is dry hair and scalp. Hair that is dry on a dry scalp will appear dull, dry, and just lifeless. You want to avoid frequent shampooing, strong soaps, detergents, or products with a high alcohol content. These products can further aggravate the condition of dry hair and dry scalp. Oily hair and scalp. To best treat the client with oily hair and scalp, you want to use a normalizing shampoo. Encourage this client to eat a well-balanced diet, exercise, shampoo regularly and frequently, and practice good personal hygiene. Before we move on to the next assignment, let's summarize and review what we've learned. Trichology enables the professional cosmetologist to better understand both the physical and microscopic properties of the hair. You must be able to recognize those conditions of the hair and scalp that need treatment. Practicing proper disinfection procedures that are approved by your oversight regulatory agency will prevent the spread of disease. Now I'm going to give you the chapter review questions. If needed, you will want to pause the video so that you can write down these questions in order to complete your assignment. Number 1, name and describe the 5 main structures of the hair root. Number 2, name and describe the 3 layers of the hair. Number 3, describe the process of keratinization. Number 4, what are polypeptide chains? Number 5, list and describe the 3 types of side bonds. Indicate whether they are strong or weak and why. Additionally, list how these side bonds are broken and reformed. Number 6, name and describe the 2 types of melanin responsible for natural hair color. Number 8, name and describe the 2 types of hair and their locations on the body. Number 9, what are the 3 phases of hair growth, the hair growth cycle, and what occurs during each cycle? Number 10, what is the reason for normal daily hair loss? Number 11, what are the most common types of abnormal hair loss? Number 12, what are the only 2 approved hair loss treatments? Number 13, name the 2 types of dandruff and state whether either can be treated in the salon. Number 14, which scalp and hair disorders cannot be treated in the salon? And number 15, what 4 factors should be considered in hair analysis? Please define each one of these hair factors. Thank you. Congratulations, you have completed Chapter 11.